Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of February 20th to the 26th, where I take a look at a couple of stories to give you my thoughts and my opinion, though. More than likely, there won't be a video game review for this week, though. I'm working on some stuff at this time, though, and certain things sort of popped up that I'm trying to deal with, though. I might try to record something on Saturday to get something up for Tuesday, but I'm not 100% sure if that is going to happen or anything like that. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover, including EA, which has made some comments in regards of the possibility of them losing the FIFA license, to issues with or updates on Mass Effect 4, The Next Dragon Age, and even comments they made about Battlefield 2042. Square Enix has basically made some comments in regards to the sales of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. An interesting report came out in regarding of Call of Duty, which could see a drop in its yearly release. And Capcom announced 2 different fighting games. One we know is another entry in the series, and one is a collection of a series and all that stuff, though. And if you're interested in where I got source of these informations or these stories, to be exact, though, links will be in the description down below this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details of them. The first one is, obviously, there has been a lot of response from developers in Ukraine in regards to what's been going on. I'm sure most of the world is very aware of that Russia has invaded Ukraine and all in the so-called context of peace and all that stuff, and that's another story. I'm not buying it and all that stuff. And a lot of developers have spoken out. Some have so far have decided to donate money to help the refugee crisis that's going to be happening in Ukraine and all. So story is from Windows Central. Links will be in the description there, though. And I send my hearts and my regards to the people in Ukraine, though. I stand with them to stand up against this, basically what it is, a Russian aggression, along with their allies, though, along those who side with Russia, to be exact, though. We also learned that supposedly that the so-called Twitter tease that was up for Aulx Studio turned out to be just basically an advertisement for a job opening for Aulx Studio, to be exact. So it wasn't really hinting anything regarding Metroid Prime 4, though. Maybe we'll hear something this year about Metroid Prime 4, but I'm not 100% sure about that. We also learned that the so-called Resident Evil announcement seemed to be nothing more than a website update, just bringing up games like Code Veronica, Resident Evil Outbreak 1 or 2. Some are speculating this could lead the door to probably those games getting a remaster, or possibly a remake in a way. I mean, we've already remade Resident Evil 2 and 3. I could see Code Veronica happening, though. Not sure about Outbreak, but who knows? That could get a remake treatment, though. We also learned that supposedly Aulx Studios is bringing Baldur's Gate's Dark Alliance 2 to the Nintendo Switch in 2022, though, which is certainly nice, though. The first one made its way over to the Switch. It's certainly nice to hear that the second one is going to happen. That certainly is good, though. We also learned that the Mean Smash Amiibo is set to arrive on April 29th, though, and the so-called Steve and Alex Amiibo has sort of been delayed at this time, though, which is certainly nice, especially for those who collect Amiibos, though. I will admit, though, the Amiibo hype certainly has died down, though, although I will say, as far as Toys of Life goes, the Amiibos seem to have fared better than, say, the other ones, which has pretty much faded out in existence, though. But who knows? Maybe who knows with regards to Amiibos. But so far they seem to be going, but maybe not on the level as they were years ago, to be exact. We also learned that Next Level Games are the ones developing the new Mario Striker game for the Nintendo Switch, which is certainly nice considering that these are the same folks that did the first and second Mario Striker game. Not to mention, they've also done the Punch-Out and Luigi's Mansion 3, though. I certainly would like to see Next Level Game take Mario to do another sports, though. Maybe hockey, football, basketball, to be exact. That would be interesting if that ever happens, though. We also learned that Night Dive Studio is certainly open to the idea of remastering Eternal Darkness for the Nintendo Switch, though they so far have no luck because of Nintendo. Some of them saying being a little picky and all that stuff. I really think Nintendo should open the idea of remastering Eternal Darkness. I think that would be a really good thing, though. We've seen how Night Dive Studios has handled Turok 1 and 2. They recently did a remaster of Shadow Master, so I really think that Nintendo should really open up the idea of basically seeing a remaster version of Eternal Darkness. I think a lot of people would like to see that. Not to mention, a lot of people have been asking for either a remaster or a remake of Eternal Darkness and all, though. We also learned that Emily Roger believes that the next Fire Emblem game is nearly finished and all that stuff. She's known to be a leaker and all that. Sometimes her information can be correct, sometimes it isn't, though. It wouldn't surprise me if this turned out to be true in any way, though, considering how well Fire Emblem Three House did in terms of sales, and winning one of the awards at the Video Game Awards. I think it was Best Strategy or Best RPG, I'm not 100% sure. I could definitely see them doing another Fire Emblem game, considering how well the series has been, considering how Fire Emblem Awakening really brought that series to a more mainstream approach than past entries have done in the past. So I could see this happening. Whether or not Koei Tecmo is involved, since they were the one who helped develop Three Houses or not, that remains to be seen at this time, though. We also learned that Soul Hacking 2, another entry in the Megami Tensei series, is going to be released this summer, and it's going to be coming to the PS4, PS5, and the Xbox systems, which is first time Aulx has released a game, or somewhat released a game on the Xbox Series system, though. I think they released Carthena. I think that was on the 360, though. However, it's not coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is a little bit unfortunate, considering I think the first one made its way over to the Nintendo 3DS, though. So it is a little bit of a disappointment, though. We also learned that Nintendo has acquired a studio by the name of SRD. However, this is a studio that's known for has a long-time partnership with Nintendo. They've worked on credited for Mario and Zelda games, and also if anyone's thinking that this is going to be on the level of, say, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, or basically Bethesda or Sony buying Bungie, nah, this isn't really anything special. Besides, sounds like the studio has long worked with Nintendo, much like what Next Level Games has done. So I really don't see this as having really I don't consider this as a major acquisition or something like that, though. And last but not least, we saw the official gameplay trailer the third one of Shadow Warriors 3. I'm definitely looking forward to that game, though. It definitely gives off a little bit of a Doom vibe to it, which certainly isn't a bad thing, though. And on top of that, we learned that PlayStation Now will have Shadow Warriors 3 available as a day one launch title, which is very interesting for Sony to do this, and it kind of opens the door to exactly could this give us an idea of the approach Sony may be going in terms of competing against Xbox Game Pass and all that stuff, though. Although to me, I think to really compete with them is to put like first party titles on there at day one, like what Microsoft is doing and all, though. But still, we'll have to wait and see whether this leads to the official, the official competition to Xbox Game Pass and all. So time will ultimately tell, but either way, looking forward to Shadow Warriors 3, though. Okay, with the quick My 2 Cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Capcom, particularly their fighting games, though. When it comes to fighting games, most people think of, when they think of, from Capcom, though, is the Street Fighter series. That's mostly the most well-known entry into the fighting game series from Capcom, though. But they have also done other entries into, or did other fighting games as well. Some people know games like Power Stone, Rival School, Darkstalker, if I'm saying the name correctly, though. But Street Fighters has always been sort of the big one right there from Capcom and all. Well, recently, though, Capcom did a bit of a teaser of basically some of their announcements of what games they are going to be bringing over. And it turns out to be that there are 2 fighting games that they are in the works, though. One is a collection which seems to be coming to all the systems, including the Nintendo Switch, and another one seems to be another entry into their popular fighting game, which of course is Street Fighter 6, though. In an article posted on, if I can get it out, from IGN, though, it reads that, quote, "After 6 years and 2 updates, Capcom is finally moving on from Street Fighter V and has officially announced Street Fighter 6. As teased through a countdown website, Capcom has officially announced Street Fighter 6 following the end of the Capcom Pro Tournament fighting game exhibit. The countdown was supposed to end at 9 p.m. Pacific time, but remained locked until the end of the stream. Capcom says more info on Street Fighter 6 is coming this summer, though. So we'll probably hear exactly more information about it, though. No word of what platform it's going to go to, but if I had to guess, given past entries, though, I would say most likely it probably will be coming to basically definitely the PS4 and PS5, maybe the Xbox Series system or the Xbox One, depending on whether or not it's a exclusive on the same level as Street Fighter V was, how that was in terms, I think Sony helped with the development to some degree. PC, I could definitely see happening. Switch, I would say I wouldn't mind it coming to the Nintendo Switch, but I was leaning towards it being unlikely to happen, though, which is a little bit of a disappointment, to be exact, though. As far as what engine that game's going to run on, remains to be seen at this time if they're going to use the Unreal Engine for Street Fighter 6, to be exact. Though, given how Capcom has recently been leaning more on their RE engine, the Resident Evil engine that has been used for Resident Evil Village and 7. It was used recently in the Ghouls and Goblin remake, though. It was used in Devil May Cry 5 and was recently used in Monster Hunter Rise, though. I would say it would not surprise me if I hear that Street Fighter 6 is running on the RE engine, though. Again, nothing official at this time, though, but it wouldn't surprise me if that turned out to be true, to be exact. Also, there seems to be some sort of controversy with the logo and all, is that they may have used Adobe or anything like that. I don't know 100% know for certain, though, but judging by the way the logo looks, it's like when compared to past logos for past Street Fighter, it doesn't look... I kind of admit it doesn't look that impressive or anything like that. But while that game was announced, though, the big one happened to be, or at least the one mostly for retro fans, though, would be the announcement of Capcom's Fighting Collection, though. In an article, if I get that out, in an article posted on Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, Capcom has just announced a new collection of classic titles is coming to the Switch, and the pack includes a co-op game that has remained exclusive for arcades for 26 years. Red Earth, aka Wizard, was the first game to use Capcom's CPS3 arcade hardware, the same tech that famously powered Street Fighter 3, and arrived in 1996. It was never ported to any home console at the time, so the inclusion of Capcom's Fighting Collection ends a quarter of a century coin-op exclusivity for the game. In terms of basically what games they will have on it, it includes Darkstalker, Night Warrior, Vampire Slayer, Vampire Hunter 2, Vampire Slayer 2, Red Earth, Wizard, if I'm saying the name correctly, Cyberbots, I'm sorry, did I say butt? Oops, I meant Cyberbots, though. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Hyper Street Fighter 2, and Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, though. Online plays include for all games, with rollback netcodes in place. No word on cross-platform at this time, though. There will also be a training mode, achievement, and a range of screen filters to tinker with to cap it all off. A museum mode offering 500 pieces of arts and 400 music tracks to listen to. Capcom's Fighting Game Collection arrives on Switch, Steam, PS4, which obviously play on your PS5, Xbox One, also Series S and X, on June 24th, 2022, though. It's also believed that basically there will be a physical collection and all. So while this may not be Street Fighter 6 for the Nintendo Switch, though, it's nice that we are getting basically 10 fighting games in one. And what makes this package even more impressive is the fact that it also includes certain games like Darkstalker, which has known to be like somewhat certainly has a following, but may have gotten to the same height as say Street Fighter is. So some of those games are getting a second lease on lights, and who knows? Maybe if this collection does very well, it could open the door to maybe Capcom looking at other fighting games to bring back, though. I know a lot of people would like to see Rival School come back for those who are into the fighting game genre and all. So certainly nice that this collection has been announced, and it's certainly nice that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, though. While it may not be Street Fighter 6 in any way, though, it certainly is nice to see a collection of fighting games, just like how we saw the Capcom arcade collections, though, or the fighting game collections, which is certainly, or brawler collections, which is certainly nice indeed. So overall, obviously the big teaser turned out to be Street Fighter 6, though, and we know it's probably going to come. It's more than likely will be on the PlayStation systems. I can see it coming to other systems as well. I still think it's unlikely it will come to the Nintendo Switch, but that could change over time, though. But even if it doesn't come to the Nintendo Switch, at least Capcom is bringing their fighting game collections, including several fighting games that never saw the light of day here in the West, or was only exclusive to the arcades at this time, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with a report in regards of Call of Duty and how it's possible we could see an end to its yearly release. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, I'm going to be taking a look at the situation surrounding the Call of Duty series, though. Now, as probably most of you are aware of that, there's no doubt that that's been Activision Blizzard's moneymaker. And they pretty much has released a Call of Duty game pretty much every single year, to be exact, though. But at the same time, this has also led to several controversies surrounding Activision Blizzard. Putting the whole allegation part aside for just a second, though, such as the fact that they have all their studios working on just Call of Duty and Call of Duty alone, really preventing studios from doing like other works, to be exact. There was the controversy last year when Toys for Bots was being brought in to help on Call of Duty, and some people speculated because of the fact that Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, didn't sell very well, to be exact, though. Well, one of the things that seemed to have popped up when Microsoft purchased Activision Blizzard was the future of Call of Duty. What was going to happen to that series? Were we going to see a yearly release or anything like that? Along with the whole issue of would Call of Duty only appear on just the Xbox system alone, though Microsoft came out to say that basically they're going to bring it to other platforms and all that stuff. You can argue, some might argue that might be appealing to the FTC and all. Some might not think alike. Some might say otherwise. But in either way, though, another question that always has come up is the future of that series of what about the yearly release? Well, according to an article from IGN, which they picked up from Bloomberg courtesy of Jason Schreier, it seems as though that there may be possibilities that we could see an end to those yearly releases with an update that Activision Blizzard recently responded to. So from the article on IGN, it reads that quote, before I get to the updated part, it says, according to Bloomberg, sources familiar with the situation, executives exclusive in charge of the franchise have made a decision early after a recent entry in the series failed to meet expectation, leading them to believe that Call of Duty's current annual cadence of releases was too rapid. That the decision is reported unrelated to the recent Microsoft purchase of the publisher, and the 2022 Call of Duty release is still on track. The recent entry is Call of Duty Vanguard, which face release competitors with Battlefield 2042 this past holiday season, as well as the free-to-play Call of Duty Warzone. A previous report noted that Vanguard sales had been suffering due to players feeling fatigue at Call of Duty's constant release cadence, if I say the name correctly, making them less interested in buying a new entry every year. The annual Call of Duty release has traditionally been one of gaming's biggest moneymaker, typically topping sales in the charts in the US at launch, and remains in the top 10 year-round. With a massive sale gap now looming, Activision is reportedly working on other projects to fill in the gap, such as an ongoing content for 2022's Call of Duty release and a separate new free-to-play online game that, as of yet, announced though. Now, the story has been updated with a comment made from Activision Blizzard, and it says, quote, Activision has reached out to IGN with a statement on the report that 2023 Call of Duty release was being delayed to 2024. We have an exciting state of premium and free-to-play Call of Duty experience for this year, next year, and beyond. Reports of anything otherwise are incorrect. We look forward to sharing more details when the time is right. IGN has followed up with Activision to ask if this was a direct denial of the claim in the Bloomberg piece that specifically the typical major November Call of Duty release in 2023 would be delayed to 2024, and will update this story accordingly. So I will say my take on this is a couple of things. One, given Jason Schreier's history and given some of the stuff as he reported on, ranging from how Amazon handled a lot of their video game development to the whole situation surrounding Anthem and how that all played out, though, I'm tend to leaning more towards this is somewhat believable, though. I mean, yes, he could be wrong on this, but given Jason Schreier's history, I tend to lean towards this being more believable. And two, though, I would have to say I really do think Activision Blizzard, or Microsoft, which now owns Activision Blizzard, supposedly will own it until once the deal goes through, should end the yearly release, though. I think it's ridiculous to have all these development studios working on one series, to be exact, though. And I do think that it just doesn't give me any reason to purchase a game. It's just going to be, it's just the annual Call of Duty. It's just nothing special or anything like that. So there's like no reason for me to pick it up. And honestly, I haven't touched the series in a long time. I stopped playing it after Call of Duty Ghosts, mostly because I didn't like the fact that they were skipping the Nintendo systems as a whole, and the fact that the series has just always been more towards, it just didn't really interest me, and some of it was because of some of the decisions Activision Blizzard has made over the years and all that stuff. With basically, if this story is true, I would like to see them sort of like give the studio some time to iron out certain parts of Call of Duty, though. Maybe come back with a better single-player experience, though. I mean, look at games like Halo Infinite's campaign is a good example of a good single-player experience. So look at something like Doom or Doom Eternal or Wolfenstein, for that matter, though. Those are good single-player experience for a single-player first-person shooter. So I really think that they should at least look at ways to improve the single-player experience, and also look at ways to improve the multiplayer experience as well. There are things some people may or may not like about the multiplayer experience. So for me, I would definitely love to see them drop the yearly release for Call of Duty and give other series that Activision Blizzard has a chance. Hell, I would like to see maybe like Pitfall make a comeback, to be exact, though. So I'm not saying the Call of Duty series should be killed off, but I do think a change in the way the structure is being done over there does need to happen. So overall, I would say I'm leaning more towards this story probably being true, but again, it's not 100% certain, to be exact, though. And I do kind of agree with the argument that the yearly release of Call of Duty should come to an end. I definitely agree with that argument, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3. And this one has to do with Square Enix and their response and their comments they made in regards of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Square Enix, particularly the game Guardians of the Galaxy that Square Enix put out last year, though. Now, 2021 was actually pretty good for Square Enix, as they did put out several good titles, to be exact. Some of them were games like Bravely Default 2, though, games also like Neo, The World Ends With You, and of course Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and probably several other titles. I may have missed several of them. I apologize if I did, though. However, not all of their titles, while they have gotten good reviews, not all of them have sold very well, at least part of if they haven't met their met Square Enix's expectation. Some of them range from Neo, The World Ends With You, and now it seems as though Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy may have been another title to suffer that same fate. In an article on GameSpot, though, it reads that, quote, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy did not meet Square Enix expectations, but Square Enix is planning to expand sales of title over time. It reads, quote, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which was released in October 2021, did not meet the publisher's Square Enix expectation, but the company is keen to expanding sales of the title over time. As part of Square Enix's latest earnings briefing, the company said Guardians of the Galaxy had a strong reviews, but the game, which was developed by Crystal Dynamics, actually was developed by, I believe it was just Eidos Montreal, did not meet sales expectations. The game's sales on launch undershot our initial expectations, Square Enix said. Despite that, Square Enix said it has seen sales growth for the title since its launch sales initiative in November 2021, and we intend to work to continue to expand sales to make up for the title's slow start, Square Enix said, though. The publisher did not provide any reason for why Guardians of the Galaxy did not perform up to expectations in the market. It was just the latest Marvel game from Square Enix following its Avengers game that came out in 2020. While Guardians of the Galaxy might have missed its sales target for Square Enix, the company overall saw its total revenue and profits post positive gains yearly. Now, I've played Guardians of the Galaxy, and it is actually a good game. It is a fun, linear experience, though. I've been playing it on my Series S. The Series S got an update to bump it up to 60 frames per second, which is certainly nice, though. But the thing about this whole situation with Guardians of the Galaxy is that it seems as though Square Enix has a history of maybe setting their expectations too high, to be exact, though. Sometimes they set up for games to sell ridiculous amounts, and that doesn't always seem to be the case. We heard this with games like Sleeping Dogs, which is one of the examples, though. I think some of the Tomb Raider games have fell into that kind of situation, though, but probably the one notorious one has to be the Marvel's Avengers, in which basically Square Enix had Crystal Dynamics do a live service type of a game, which unfortunately did not seem to do very well, nor met the expectations Square Enix was setting, though. And I think it shows just because you have a popular license or something like that doesn't guarantee you kind of success at anything. And I do kind of think that's one of the reasons why Guardians of the Galaxy may not have as performed as well as Square Enix wanted it to be, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it, is that I think a lot of people were kind of turned off to what happened with Marvel's Avengers. It's kind of sort of similar to what we saw with Battleborn in a way, though. The game got got some good reviews, but it didn't sell very well, and I think some of those reasons were, of course, their CEO Randy Pitchford, who has a history of saying outrageous things, to the fact that Alien Colonial Marines left a bitter taste, to what we saw with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which got a better review, but from what I understand didn't sell very well because a lot of people were upset for what happened with Assassin's Creed Unity. So I kind of think a lot of people saw what happened with Marvel's Avengers, and that might have turned some folks off, which is really a shame because Guardians of the Galaxy is a good game in my opinion, but I think this was Square's doing, and they're pushing for that Avengers game to be a live service, and yeah, I can see why Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy didn't perform very well. very well. That, and perhaps maybe they could have waited to release it around the time that James Gunn was going to do his final Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So there could be multiple reasons, though, but I hope this doesn't kill off any chance for a sequel, but something tells me that probably is what's going to happen, and I think more than likely a sequel is unlikely to happen, though I could be wrong, which, if that's true, it is somewhat of a shame, to be exact. So overall, though, if what Square Enix is saying is true, it is a little disappointed it did not meet its sales expectations. However, Square Enix unfortunately has a history of doing that, setting their sale expectations too high, and the game's not meeting that kind of expectations, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 4, and this one has to do with EA, though, particularly 3 things in regards to EA, regarding the FIFA, BioWare's games, and Battlefield 2042. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our 4th and final part of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at, shall we say, EA, though, and basically interesting things that had happened for them this week in regards of several of their franchises, ranging from FIFA to some of the games from BioWare and Battlefield 2042. Now, excuse me, EA is the company that a lot of people love to hate, though. They've won Worst Company of the Year twice, though, to some of their decisions, ranging from how Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the whole loot box controversy and all, to basically some of their decisions such as Always Online for SimCity, in which then they closed Maxis, and Visceral after the whole situation with Dead Space 3 and Battlefield Hardline and all. So EA is known for their controversies, but every once in a while EA can produce a good game, such as, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition and all that stuff. Well, recently EA has sort of been in the news, and most of it has to do with some of the stuff, as I mentioned, FIFA, BioWare games, and of course Battlefield 2042. In the first one, it has to do with FIFA, and it seems as though their CEO, Andrew Wilson, basically has come out in regards that they are not worried about the fact that they are going to possibly lose the FIFA license. The article of the Nintendo Life points out that, quote, Electronic Arts' Andrew Wilson has reportedly told staff that the publisher might actually be better off losing the FIFA license. EA and FIFA have been partners for 30 years, but that relationship is in jeopardy as the pair cannot seem to agree on renewing the long-term deal. As we covered a while back, a New York Times report claimed that negotiations between the two companies have stalled, with the sticking point being EA demand for a wider-reaching rights and FIFA's desire to double the current payment to $2.5 billion over the next decade. FIFA claimed that the cost should go up as the revenue EA generates from license has scaled dramatically as microtransactions have become more popular, though. Shortly after the New York Times report surfaced in October, Wilson held an internal company meeting to explain EA's positions, though. It's been reported on the VGC sales, to be exact, though. The Nintendo Life article concludes that should the negotiation fail, it could be that the upcoming FIFA 23 would be the final game in EA's line to have the FIFA brand on the box. The 10-year deal expires after the World Cup, which takes place in Qatar later this year. EA has already pointed out that should it lose its license, it will retain all of the league's players and stadiums license it already has in place. FIFA responds with its own statement claiming it was open to working with other video game companies should the deal not be renewed. In terms of BioWare, it seems as though they have given an update on Mass Effect 4 and Dragon Age 4, though. In terms of what they said so far, it says that, quote, for the next Dragon Age, we are right in the middle of production, which is a great feeling, says McKay. Our blueprint was completed last year, so we're now focused on building out a vision, creating an amazing environment, deep characters, strong gameplay, impact writing, emotional cinematics, and much more. The blueprint for the game is well understand, and the team is focused. Although they did point out that a developer by the name of Christian Daly, an executive producer at BioWare, who has worked on the game, has left. It also points out about the next Mass Effect game, and they said, quote, "And of course, we are working on the next Mass Effect. The team led by Mike Gamble is made up of teams of veteran developers as well as some new, really talented people. They are all actively prototyping new ideas and experiencing AAA next-gen games takes a long time to make, and we know our fans want them sooner, but our number one priority needs to be quality, and that simply takes time to get it right, though." Meanwhile, over in terms of Battlefield 2042, and I might have covered this last year in my last week in my quick My 2 Cent video, it seems as though they are talking about basically the blame of what happened to Battlefield 2042, and it seems that they are pointing to Halo and COVID, though. The article points out how they cited everything from this is from Kotaku, the Frostbite engine, where they also mentioned the Frostbite version they were on was so old they had to go back and update it. So it was basically putting the game on a new engine. To the pandemic, though. And then, of course, they mentioned about Halo Infinite, though. They said that, according to the article, it says that this person cited is Halo Infinite, a game that is not Battlefield 2042. It came out at the same time and it appears created a comparison for multiplayer shooter fans that was not favorable because Halo Infinite was a very polished title where Battlefield 2042 contained bugs and wasn't as polished. So in regards of all this information, to be exact, though, in terms of the FIFA comment, though, I mean, I will say that's a little bit ballsy to make, though, to be exact, though. And I'm very curious to see if what happens in the end, if basically EA ends up basically shooting themselves in the foot in the whole process. I mean, if they're making the comment about about the FIFA license like that, then I might as well come out and say, you know what, they should not have the NFL license or the Madden license. Let another developer get a shot at the Madden license. I mean, after all, look what they do with Madden, and it's almost like the last one was like filled with bugs and glitches and all that stuff, to be exact. So personally, if they're saying the same thing about FIFA, why not do the same thing with Madden? Let someone else handle it, to be exact, though. As far as the next Dragon Age and the next Mass Effect, though, time will ultimately tell if that game it will be a success or not, though. BioWare is going to have to work really hard to rebuild their reputation, though. Their last two titles, Mass Effect Andromeda, which had a good idea, but was done poorly because some of it was using the Frostbite engine, though, to Anthem, their live service, which unfortunately died a painful death after many attempts to try to get that game working, but ended up failing in the end, though, and now is still on, but it's not anywhere near the level that EA and BioWare wanted, though. So they're going to have to work really hard to restore their reputation, and it's going to be very, very tough with them. And so the next Dragon Age and the next Mass Effect, they're really going to have to hit it out of the park on that one. Otherwise, if those games flopped, it wouldn't surprise me if it's the chopping block for BioWare, though. As for Battlefield 2042, I would say the pandemic I can understand because that has a major impact on a lot of developing teams and all that stuff. But COVID, though, COVID, yes, that has had an impact, though. But Halo, I'm not buying that argument, though. I mean, to me, this sounds like the same kind of excuse we saw where I think they blame, if I could be wrong on this, but when Anthem came out, it came out around time that I think Breath of the Wild came out, though, and they blamed the launch of Breath of the Wild over Anthem's failure. This sounds very similar, to be exact, though. Excuse me. And I think that there's a big difference between between Halo and Battlefield 2042. And as far as the multiplayer goes for those games, though, it seems the big complaint for Halo's multiplayer, it seems to be a lack of content, where Battle 2042 seems to be the fact that content-wise, but also the fact that the game is not performing very well. I mean, it's gotten so bad we're seeing online petitions, for crying out loud, for refunds for those games. So I'm not buying the Halo argument, though. The COVID argument, I kind of agree, but the Halo argument, not as much. So overall, some interesting tidbits of EA being in the news, to be exact, though. In terms of, we'll see how them not having the FIFA license will have any kind of impact on them. It may or may not. In terms of the next Mass Effect and the next Dragon Age, BioWare's going to have to work really hard to knock it out of the park. And as far as Battlefield 2042 goes, yes, COVID I think was a factor, but I don't buy the whole Halo argument part of it, though. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the two big Capcom fighting game announcements, though? Are you looking forward to Street Fighter 6 in any way? Or are you looking forward to the Capcom Fighting Collection, though? Are you looking forward to both of those games? Are there any particular system you want to pick them up on? What are your thoughts about this report about the possibility Call of Duty could be ending its yearly release? Do you think this is a smart move in any way? Do you think they should at least give the series maybe somewhat of a rest so they'd be able to take their time to iron it out a bit better, though? Or do you think they should continue with the yearly release, though, assuming this report is true? What are your thoughts about Square Enix and their comments about Guardians of the Galaxy not meeting their expectations, though? Do you think they are correct, though? Or do you think that this is on Square Enix's side, ranging from setting their expectations too high to perhaps people being turned off after what happened with Marvel's Avengers? And what are your thoughts about the situation with EA? Do you think they are correct that they're not worried about, not having the FIFA license, or do you think they're shooting themselves in the foot in any way regarding that? Do you think that the next Dragon Age and the next Mass Effect are going to be good, though? Do you think it's good that they're taking their time, or are you worried that this will be ending up like what we saw with Mass Effect Andromeda or what happened with Anthem? And what about their comments about basically Battlefield 2042 not succeeding due to COVID and Halo Infinite, though? Do you think they are right about that? Do you think they're wrong about that? Do you think they were correct that how COVID may have had an impact in a way? Do you think they were right about Halo Infinite having an impact on Battlefield 2042? Or do you think they were blowing that way out of proportion? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!